rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name's Abdul Karim. This is Come to Goodness. Today we've got a hot potato for you. A hot potato that no one wants to hold, They're just trying to pass it on. And they don't want to really deal with it. And today's hot potato, today's major thing that we're going to be dealing with is hadith. I know a lot of people, they roll their eyes like, brother in Islam, you need hadiths to know how to pray. Brother, you need hadiths to know how to go to Mecca. Brother, you need hadiths to know how to take a thing when you go to the washroom. Brother, you need hadiths to know how to take wudu. Hadiths are a statement that is a sin. A lot of people, they believe that idle talk is a sin. If you look at the word in the Quran, the Arabic word, it uses hadithin. Hadithin means statement. And a lot of people are, brother, you don't understand, you're new to Islam. Statement is not the same as the word hadith. Hadith is the words of the Prophet that were written down over time. Brother, you don't understand. So let's just kind of take a pause. As you can see, I have the Quran here and have a printed translation. So this is Surah 77 verse 50. Actually, we'll go from Surah 77 verse 49. Woe that day to the deniers. Another translation says, woe that day to the rejectors of truth. Next verse, Surah 77 verse 50 says, there are the verses of Allah which we recite to you in truth. Then what statement after Allah and His verses will they believe? Let's look at another translation. Then what message after that will they believe? And that being, of course, the Quran, this glorious book. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Now, let's look at the Arabic, which is why I have this Quran. It's got an easy transliteration. It's one of my favorite Qurans. My wife got it for me. The Tawjeed Quran with the translation and transliteration. So,
بأي حديث بعده يؤمنون.
Hadithim. See, the word in Arabic for message, for statement, is hadith. So, the word message, the word statement is hadith. Now, a lot of people, they think, idle talk is a sin. If you look at the word in that statement, that sentence, that verse, where it talks about idle talk, you actually notice that it's actually talking about idle hadith, idle statements. Now, the clarification here is that a lot of Muslims are like, statements, yeah, hadiths are not really statements. They're what the Prophet said that were written down and that we follow. His actions and sayings. Okay, so if I write my manifesto, and I'm like, okay, my manifesto is this, my ideology is that, that becomes my statement to the world. But the manifesto is a statement to the world. And your statement to the world is what you believe. And this is what I say to the world. And if I'm saying things, or if I'm writing things down, that becomes my manifesto, that becomes my statement, which is written down and believed by other people. And those people who believe it, that is a statement, that's my words. Now, if I'm a king and I say, I decree so and so, then people will be like, okay, Abdul the king has decreed so and so. That's my statement. And then it's written down and it becomes law. Now a lot of people, they're like, yeah, but that doesn't apply to Islam because the hadiths are pure and perfect, except from, that one over there and that one over there. Really? Because the fact that we have to verify hadiths, the fact that we need to take a hadith apart and say, I need to find out who did it, I need to find out who recited it to so and so and to so and so. That in itself is proof that we shouldn't follow them. But then the Quran goes and says, what statement after Allah in His verses will they believe? What statement? It's not, has a little thing in brackets saying, by the way, hadiths are cool, bruvs. Hadiths are cool. You can follow hadiths. It even names them. It's a prophecy. Hadith. It has the name in the Quran multiple times. And it doesn't just say that. It says after Allah in His verses. Now, anybody can tell you, they go to school, say which came first, the Quran or the Hadith. They will like the Quran. Anybody, any Muslim will tell you the Quran came first. In fact, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was not a true Muslim until the Quran was recited to him. And that is when he found his faith. That is when he opened his eyes to Islam. So, which came first, the Quran or the Hadith? Now a lot of people are squirming, they're like, oh, but the Hadiths, you know, it was in his lifetime, the Quran wasn't written down till after. That's false! The Quran was written down in the lifetime of the Prophet on papyrus. It was not gathered up until after, true. But it was written down. But when was the Hadiths written down? 200 years later! So 200 years later by definition is after Allah in His verses. So let me repeat. What statement after Allah and His verses will they believe? Who is the they in the sentence? It's prophesied in the first bit. Woe that day to the deniers. Who are the deniers, brothers and sisters? They are the kafirun. They are the disbelievers. Now, people are like, but I'm not disbeliever, I believe in hadiths and I'm a Muslim. If you're believing in a statement after Allah and His verses, then you are a disbeliever. I'm sorry to say, I am not getting passionate about this, but hadiths are sin. They are sin in Islam. You're not allowed to follow hadiths if you are a Muslim. Then you will say, today I reject all hadiths except from Allah's hadith. You cannot have hadith of the Prophet. Prophet is a human being. We follow Allah. We follow Allah, the one who created us. You know, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a great man. He had progeny, he had children. He had children, grandchildren, many generations. But there are people now who can say, I'm related to the Prophet of God. And they think there's something special. You know what? We're all created by Allah. What is more important? To have some lineage to a Prophet? Or to say that you are a creation of Allah? That you are a creation of Allah, put on this earth to worship Him, the mighty Him. When someone says Him with a capital H in the middle of the sentence, they're talking about Allah. Worship Allah. Do not follow hadiths. You know there's hadiths for taking wudu. There's a hadith for you're not allowed to put soap when you're making wudu, sorry. You know you're making wudu, you're like, oh, I've touched something dirty. You're not allowed to put soap, brother. Why? Because it's haram, it's in the hadith. Really? Because soap wasn't invented in the lifetime of the Prophet. Yes, I know I've blown a lot of people's mind, but soap was invented by Arabs after the death of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So, how can there be a hadith? Really? And a lot of people, but there's hadith and sunnah. Sunnah that you have to wash your hands 3 times. Really? Surah 5 verse 6 gives a clear detailed explanation of how to make wudu. You wash your face. You wash your hands up to the elbows. You wipe your head and you wash your feet. You don't do this thing where you wash your hands 3 times, wash your face 3 times, put water in your mouth, put water up your nose, put water in your ears, put water in your belly button. You know, do something on your hair, do something on your back. Well, what is this? Hadiths will screw you up. You're told by Allah not to follow statements afterwards. So do not follow hadiths. Brothers and sisters, come to Islam. Read this Quran. Well, not this specific Quran, but you know, any translation of the Quran in your language. Read Quran. Learn. It's not like something I'm telling you to go to sin. This is salvation. Alhamdulillah, this is salvation. Come to goodness. Come to Islam. Come.